So I have a young man that I wanted to address. I did a post on how men who refuse to work are struggling with a type of psychopathy, and I wanted to address his comment. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I have been counseling women and men who have experienced abuse, as well as those who have been perpetrators of abuse and other violent crimes. So I have a commenter uh, who says, what if I am working from home rather than going out? I am 20 and I am a producer slash music engineer slash musician, and I make $200 to $400 a week at least. I wouldn't consider it a real job though. Um, and I had responded, I think you've kind of answered your own self with your last statement. He says, and also I'm not choosing to work. It's me not being able to find a job. The job market is terrible right now. I also forgot to mention I'm in school for engineering. And then he says, can you please elaborate? I still pay bills, and yes, I still live with my mom, but I also provide and bring something to the table. Should I be in the same bracket with men who are jobless? I know this is a lot, but I want to be better as a provider. So as I mentioned before, I have a lot of young people watch me, and sometimes some of the stuff that I say can be taken out of context, or misapplied, I should say, sort of misapplied. So for the person that wrote this to me, I'm glad that you are you want to pay bills, and excuse me, that you provide and you feel like you bring something to the table, but you also know that you want to be better as a provider, and it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, you understand that being a producer slash music engineer slash musician is a hobby and not a career, at least for right now. And so I think that's one thing. And if you're in school, I would say being in school and focusing on school is different from a person that's just sort of, you know, meandering around in society and choosing not to work. So those are two different things. Because to me, school is still a career, albeit it's not your final destination, but it is essentially a job. If you're going to school full time as an engineer, that means to me that you're taking physics and your math, your physics, your math, and all of that kind of. So you are working, albeit you are a student, and so I think that's the thing. And most people who are in this category, that are doing what you're talking about, are not in the category of the people that I'm talking about that aren't going to school. They have zero ambition. They refuse to get a job, and there's no real reason for why they're not doing so. So I think it's good to know where you're at. I think it's good to know that your job is, that you are, you're working and you're making some money at your hobby, but right now it's not a career that is as stable. It is an interest. It's something that you're kind of doing on the side, maybe a side hustle while you're in school. Fantastic. But I think as long as you're honest about where this, what you're doing and where you are, there's nothing wrong with that. I think also wanting to be better as a provider is a definite good start to show that you're ambitious about wanting to step up, that you have goals and dreams, and that you're willing to do the work that it takes to get there. While you're a student, right now I would say focus on, being a student, and focus on doing what you need to do in order to get through school, successfully graduate, and then you could maybe start your career after school, right? And it's great that your mom is allowing you to stay with her, while you're going through school and you're going through this transition in life. and is sort of helping you in that way. So I would say focus on doing that. Continue to be ambitious and have your hustle. This does not put you in the same category as someone who lacks direction, ambition. It is not interested in trying to do there, but wants all of the benefits as someone who provides and is able to provide structure and stability and safety, and wants to date a woman that comes with a list of requirements that they can't fulfill. If you want to date right now, I think it's good, but I think you have to date for where you're at in life, right? And so the woman that you're dating needs to be at the same level that you're on. Or if you want to date a sugar mama, you can do that too. But as long as you're realistic about where you're at and what you do bring to the table, I think that's the first step. I think if you want to be better as a provider, it is good to have some good role models around you that show you what that looks like. So I heard you say that you still stay with your mom. So I'm not sure if there's a good father figure or paternal figure in your life, but it's good to have strong male figures in your life that show you what providing looks like. And you could look for those, if you don't necessarily have any in your life right now. I think having other role models that are good, so like I like Russell Wilson and Sierra is one good, and you could sort of build off of that, right? Like they're still a young couple and things like that, and they reflect like what it means to take care of family, and you could sort of choose who you want. I would encourage you to stay away from red pill content or content that says all women are this, all men are this, all, this and that and the other, and that things have to be done this way and sort of that way, in content that completely lacks respect or regard for either same or opposite sex and gender. So I think there's that, but I definitely would encourage you to get strong role models if you don't have any. And I would say it's a good, excuse me, a little gnat. I've got fruit in the house. A good 3 to 5 minimum of strong male role models that show you what it looks like to provide and have balance and have a good nurturing relationship. So I think those are things that you could sort of work on and start thinking about while you are, continuing to build yourself. But I think it sounds like you're off to a good start. It sounds like you're very aspirational, and you don't need to be in the same bracket as men who are jobless. Now if you were to get out of school, you were out of school and you were just sort of like not doing anything, you're not working, you're not trying to build on yourself and make yourself better, and you're just sort of living with your mom, and you're not bringing in any income, not doing anything, and there's no desire to get a job, then we would have a different type of conversation. But school is a career. Definitely focus on that and make that your priority. But keep your goals, keep your creative endeavors and things like that. And you can even keep creative endeavors. In fact, I encourage people to keep their creative endeavors while they're, while they're working and get a career, and if your creative endeavors turn into your career, then that's even better. Right. But, keep those things going. And thanks so much for asking this. And I hope that, my response helps to clarify that for you. Thank you.